With a maritime area roughly 12 times larger than its landmass and among the largest in the world, Japan is a maritime powerhouse that lives alongside the ocean. Every year, the country's fisheries industry produces nearly 4 million tons of seafood and aquaculture products, supplying ingredients to hundreds of thousands of seafood consumption points, both domestically and internationally. But what makes people curious is this. How can a country where nearly half of its fishing workforce is over 65 years old, constantly faces storms at sea and suffers from declining marine resources, resulting in lower output than even a Southeast Asian nation like Vietnam, still set the world's highest standards for seafood quality, freshness, and handling? In this video, Agriculture Insight will take you out to sea to discover how Japan has transformed the ocean into a premium food supply chain, where seafood is not only fresh, but also handled with the precision of an entire system, from harvesting, preservation, and grading to auctions and processing. Now, let's begin. From September to late autumn each year, millions of mature chum salmon leave the North Pacific, return to the cold waters surrounding Japan, and begin their final journey upstream to spawn. More than 90% of Japan's wild salmon catch is concentrated here, where fishing fleets begin operating before dawn to take advantage of one of Asia's largest salmon migration seasons. Instead of chasing fish across the open ocean like tuna longline fisheries, Japanese fishermen use a quieter but highly effective method for catching salmon. Massive fixed net systems are anchored dozens of meters deep and marked by lines of buoys stretching hundreds of meters along the coastline. Taking advantage of the salmon's natural instinct to return to their spawning rivers, the schools swim along the guiding nets before being funneled into a final holding chamber, where the entire catch can be harvested at once. As the net chamber begins to fill, the vessel immediately transforms into a mechanical processing line in the middle of the cold sea. Teams of fishermen work together with almost flawless coordination. Dozens of workers pull ropes to stabilize the net pocket, crane operators maneuver heavy equipment, and others lower enormous mechanized scoop nets into the holding chamber to lift catches weighing hundreds of kilograms onto the deck. During peak season, a single vessel can process between 3 and 5 tons of salmon within just a few hours before sunrise. But for Japan's seafood industry, the real race that determines value only begins once the fish leaves the water. Immediately after being hauled from the nets, the salmon are quickly gill-cut and bled before being transferred into circulating seawater tanks kept at around 35 degrees Fahrenheit, or packed in crushed ice to lower their body temperature almost instantly. This process helps preserve the bright red color of the flesh, slows bacterial growth, and protects the quality of the roe. Before reaching shore, the fish are further sorted by size, freshness, sex, and overall quality. Female salmon carrying roe are especially valuable because they can be processed into akura, the bright orange salmon roe widely used in Japanese cuisine. Even slight mistakes in temperature control or rough handling can significantly reduce the value of an entire catch within just a few hours. Thanks to this fixed net system, Hokkaido once became Japan's largest salmon production hub, with annual yields exceeding 200,000 tons during its peak years. Today, however, that figure has fallen to only around 58,500 tons, as rising sea temperatures, shifting ocean currents, and declining salmon returns continue to impact the industry. Even so, thousands of fishermen in Hokkaido still head out into the freezing sea every autumn, because those few short peak months not only determine their annual income, but also sustain the rhythm of Japan's sushi industry and its billion-yen ikura market. Sardines, small silver fish measuring only about 15 to 20 centimeters in length, were once among the most heavily harvested species in the history of Japan's fishing industry. With almost no natural defenses, they survive by gathering into enormous super schools, containing hundreds of millions of fish stretching for kilometers across the ocean to fend off fast-moving predators such as seals, dolphins, and sharks. Ironically, however, this seemingly effective survival strategy also makes them the perfect target for industrial fishing, turning sardines into one of Japan's most widely consumed fish thanks to their high omega-3 content, rich oily flavor, and far lower price compared to Saba mackerel. More than 4 decades ago, Japan's sardine catch exceeded 4 million tons per year, making the country one of the largest sardine fishing nations in the world, surpassing even several famous South American sardine fisheries at the time. Because these schools are so enormous, purse seine fishing, a massive drawstring-style net system, became an almost ideal method for harvesting sardines. Once sonar detects a school, multiple vessels quickly coordinate to deploy a giant net hundreds of meters long around the fish before the bottom is cinched shut like a giant drawstring bag. Within minutes, hundreds of tons of sardines can be trapped inside and hauled almost directly onto the deck without the long, fuel-intensive towing required by traditional trawl nets, dramatically reducing both fuel consumption and fishing time. On some traditional vessels, large mechanized scoop nets are still used to lift hundreds of kilograms of silver fish onto the boat at a time, slower and more labor-intensive, but gentler on the fish during harvest. Despite their small size, sardines have extremely strong muscle reflexes and thrash violently the moment they leave the water, forcing fishermen to rapidly shovel them into near-freezing seawater holds or cover them with crushed ice to preserve freshness before returning to port. The enormous catch then flows continuously into coastal processing plants operating almost 24 hours a day, where the sardines are turned into grilled fish, canned products, dried fish, fish oil, and many other seafood staples commonly found in everyday Japanese meals. Nicknamed the Black Diamond of the Ocean, tuna is consumed in Japan at a scale of hundreds of thousands of tons every year, making the country home to one of the world's largest tuna industries. Among them, skipjack tuna, a smaller species than bluefin tuna, typically traveling in massive schools and growing at an exceptionally fast rate, accounts for around 450,000 to 500,000 tons annually, becoming the core ingredient used to make katsuobushi flakes and dashi broth. To harvest such enormous volumes while minimizing bycatch as much as possible, many Japanese fishing fleets use the pole-in-line method, considered one of the most selective and environmentally friendly tuna fishing techniques in the world. The handmade artificial lures, known as jiji, are crafted from natural goose feathers combined with reflective synthetic fibers to accurately imitate the shimmering movement of prey, such as sardines, herrings, or squid. More importantly, the hooks, the component that directly determines the speed and efficiency of the entire fishing cycle, must be completely barbless. This design allows the fish to slip off the hook instantly once flung onto the deck, enabling fishermen to maintain a continuous cast-hook release rhythm within just a few seconds without wasting time unhooking the catch. Once the live sardines had been prepared as bait and the jiji lures were fully attached to the fishing rods, dozens of fishermen immediately took their positions with ultra-light fiberglass poles, flexible enough to keep flinging fish continuously for hours. To stir up the school, one crew member constantly tossed live sardines into the sea as chum. At the same time, a high-pressure spray system surrounding the vessel created a dense layer of white foam across the ocean surface. Although it looked chaotic, this was actually the key to the pole-in-line method. The white water not only concealed the shadow of the boat and the movement of the rods, but also made the sea surface resemble a frantic feast of live bait fish, triggering the skipjack tuna's predatory instincts. The moment a tuna is hooked, fishermen simply use the tension and flex of the rod to whip it straight onto the deck. where the barbless hook automatically slips free, allowing them to instantly cast again without stopping. When the vessel encounters a dense enough school, as much as 10 tons of fish can be hauled aboard in just around 15 minutes. Once the vessel docks, the entire catch of skipjack tuna is transferred onto conveyor belts and cleaned using a recirculating water system to remove impurities. Fish with ideal size, intact bodies, and good fat content can be sold whole for thousands of dollars to sashimi restaurants or seafood markets. Meanwhile, most of the remaining catch is used to produce katsuobushi flakes. From the extremely lean, firm flesh, noticeably darker red than bluefin tuna, the fish is carefully deboned, shaped into blocks, and continuously smoked for nearly a month. Eventually, the fillets gradually harden into wood-like blocks that must be shaved into paper-thin flakes, the ingredient responsible for the rich aftertaste, subtle smokiness, and distinctive depth of flavor found in takoyaki, okonomiyaki, or hot rice, which many people still mistake for shredded squid. One of the most expensive shellfish in Japan, the largest geoduck ever recorded, can weigh up to 6 to 7 kilograms, live for more than 100 years, and is found almost exclusively in high-end sushi and sashimi. In Japan, geoduck production today is extremely limited compared to North America due to decades of overharvesting and the species' slow growth rate. Because of their rarity and exceptionally high value, geoduck harvesting revolves almost entirely around professional diving teams. During harvest season, divers must wear heavy pressure-resistant suits weighing nearly 70 kilograms, along with surface-supplied diving helmets connected directly to the boat before descending into the freezing seafloor below. Unlike most clams that rest near the surface, geoducks bury themselves nearly a meter deep beneath compacted mud, exposing only a tiny portion of their siphon, the only sign that a shellfish worth hundreds of dollars may be hidden underneath. Once they spot that tiny opening, divers lower high-pressure water hoses to blast away the mud surrounding the clam. But the hardest part comes afterward, when they must carefully reach into mud as dense as concrete to twist and lift each geoduck out at exactly the right angle. Pull too hard or from the wrong direction, and the siphon, the most valuable part of the geoduck, can tear instantly, significantly reducing its market value. In just 20 to 30 minutes, an experienced diver can collect dozens of kilograms of geoduck before returning to the boat. The best specimens are then transported live to seafood markets and high-end sushi counters. One fascinating fact is that the geoduck's famous trunk is not actually a single trunk at all, but two fused siphons, one used to draw seawater in, while the other expels water and waste. Because of this, every geoduck intended for sashimi or sushi must first be purged in clean seawater to remove sand, then quickly blanched and shocked in ice water. The technique responsible for creating its signature texture. Intensely crunchy, slightly springy, and deeply sweet in a way that almost no other shellfish can replicate. If viewed from satellites between June and late autumn, many waters around Japan appear to glow through the night as hundreds of squid fishing vessels operate simultaneously. A single vessel can be fitted with dozens to hundreds of high-powered metal halide and LED lamps along its sides, with total lighting capacity reaching roughly 100 to 300 kilowatts. Thanks to this distinctive light fishing technique, Japan harvests around 70,000 to 120,000 tons of squid each year and has become the world's second largest squid consumption and processing market, behind only China. Squid fishing vessels operate almost around the clock, but the actual harvesting takes place mainly at night, when squid react most strongly to light. As soon as the entire lighting system is switched on, dozens of automated jigging machines begin operating simultaneously, drawing schools of squid up toward the surface. Each fishing line is fitted with rows of colorful artificial squid jigs arranged in long chains, exploiting the squid's instinctive attraction to reflected light to increase hook rates, while continuously jerking up and down in a programmed rhythm to imitate a panicked school of small fish. The moment a squid latches onto the hook, the entire system immediately reels the line back in, pulling the squid straight onto the deck within seconds, before dropping the line again to begin another cycle. But what truly sets Japan's squid fishing industry apart is not the harvesting technology itself, but its obsession with the transparency of squid flesh. To prevent the meat from turning cloudy almost immediately after death, many vessels place the squid directly into seawater kept just above freezing point to suppress the nervous system and slow enzymatic self-decomposition, preserving flesh that remains almost crystal clear, crisp, sweet, and virtually free of cloudiness, the highest standard demanded for premium sashimi. If squid fishing is defined by powerful lighting systems and automated machinery, octopus fishing presents an almost opposite character. Quiet, slow-paced, and heavily dependent on the experience and tactile instinct of the fisherman. To harvest these solitary creatures, which usually hide close to the seafloor and react extremely sensitively to movement, fishermen use short fishing lines fitted with multi-hook artificial lures, dragging them slowly across the sandy bottom, where octopus often ambush crustaceans and other prey. Because octopus do not strike bait like fish, but instead wrap their tentacles tightly around a target, fishermen must rely on the slightest changes in weight and line tension to make judgments. A fully grown octopus can weigh anywhere from a few kilograms to over 20 kilograms, requiring fishermen to distribute force with great precision, applying enough pressure to overcome the suction strength of the octopus clinging to rocks below, while retrieving the line smoothly enough to keep it from slipping off the hooks. The goal is not simply to bring the octopus on board, but to keep it in the most pristine condition possible: intact tentacles, unblemished skin, and flesh that still retains its natural elasticity. Factors that can create several-fold differences in price at seafood auctions and high-end sashimi restaurants across Japan. Through this patient and highly manual fishing method, Japan harvests around 30,000 to 50,000 tons of octopus each year. Most of the catch remains within the domestic market, where octopus may not be the most widely produced seafood, but remains irreplaceable as a premium ingredient in traditional sashimi, sushi, and takoyaki cuisine. First, let's begin with one of the ocean's most intense hunts, where Chinese fishermen go head-to-head with sharks to control roughly 50% of the fins traded globally each year. In reality, China isn't the only player in this game. Fleets from countries like Indonesia and Spain lead in wild catch volumes. But with the advantage of integrated logistics infrastructure and large-scale mothership networks, China holds the real power in processing and commercialization. Their strength lies in how they operate longline and drift gillnet fleets. In hotspots like the Atlantic and Indian Oceans, Chinese vessels deploy a main line made of ultra-durable synthetic material, stretching from 50 to 100 kilometers. From this backbone, thousands of branch lines are released, each fitted with a steel hook baited with fresh bait and equipped with light-emitting devices to attract sharks. A single voyage can haul in thousands of sharks, all brought aboard using mechanical winch systems and processed immediately on deck. On board, the initial processing begins immediately in the hands of skilled workers. Using specialized knives, fishermen make precise, fully manual cuts to separate the fins without damaging the flesh, preserving their intact shape, the most valuable factor in the high-end market. The sharks are then sent straight into rapid freezing holds at -40 degrees Celsius helping maintain structural integrity and stabilize collagen levels, as well as key minerals. From there, the largest processing hubs in Guangdong and Hong Kong receive the entire supply. Thousands of workers handle stages ranging from sorting by size and thickness to drying under tightly controlled conditions, before the products are commercialized at prices that can reach up to $1,000 per kilogram. Beyond processing domestic supply, these hubs also import raw materials from dozens of countries, operating as global transshipment centers with highly competitive labor costs. Meanwhile, the rest of the shark is fully utilized. The skin is used for leather, and the liver is processed to extract squalene for the cosmetics industry, with an estimated market value of over $150 million annually. Chinese vessels, sometimes gathering in fleets of over 200 operating at once, are placing unprecedented pressure on offshore squid fisheries. In the Sea of Japan and the Northwest Pacific, multiple studies show that the surge of these fleets coincides with the appearance of North Korea's ghost ships drifting ashore, as local fishermen are pushed out of their traditional fishing grounds. Leaving behind the blazing lights of the squid fleets, we move into the East China Sea, home to the Zhoushan fishing grounds, one of China's largest seafood harvesting hubs. Thanks to its nutrient-rich coastal ecosystem, crab species play a key role here, contributing to annual catches in the hundreds of thousands of tons and helping the region surpass many Southeast Asian countries in the same segment. Due to the nature of fishing in shallow continental shelf waters, typically under 200 meters deep, Chinese vessels have optimized their operations by deploying long strings of traps. This interconnected system consists of dozens to hundreds of steel cages attached to a main line, stretching for kilometers along the seafloor. Rather than catching individually, each cage functions as a one-way trap, using fresh bait to lure crabs inside, where escape is nearly impossible. After soak times ranging from a few hours to overnight, the entire harvesting process is mechanized, using high-speed hydraulic winches, allowing tons of trap lines to be hauled continuously onto the deck. As soon as the traps are opened, the crabs are strictly sorted by size and meat firmness, key factors that determine their market value. In the United States, Chinese crab products are typically positioned in the mass market segment, such as packaged crab meat, frozen crab, or ingredients for processed foods. They are significantly cheaper than Alaska snow crab or king crab, which can cost 3 to 5 times more, depending on the season and supply. Shrimp is not a leading capture fishery. Wild harvest volumes are relatively low and scattered. Yet China still produces around 7 million tons of shrimp each year, the highest in the world. What's notable is that most of this output doesn't come from the ocean. More than 80% is generated through aquaculture, with the backbone being white-leg shrimp, a species that dominates the market thanks to its rapid growth, ease of control, and suitability for large-scale production. In strategic coastal regions such as Shandong, Guangdong, and Fujian, shrimp farms no longer resemble traditional agriculture. They operate more like high-tech industrial complexes. Modular pond systems stretch across vast areas, equipped with 24/7 aeration, real-time environmental sensors, and automated feeding processes, turning each facility into a biological production line with precisely calculated output for every cycle. Notably, the installation of dense solar panels above the water surface has created a major leap forward. Beyond generating clean energy, these panels act as a natural thermal shield, stabilizing water temperatures and reducing environmental fluctuations, key factors that allow stocking densities to increase by more than 150 kilograms per acre compared to traditional models, while also optimizing energy costs. Today, the ingenuity of Chinese farmers extends far beyond coastal areas through integrated shrimp rice farming models. In this symbiotic ecosystem, crayfish act as natural cleanup workers, feeding on pests and providing a rich source of organic nutrients, while rice plants function as a massive biological filter, absorbing waste and purifying the water. The result is a near-perfect economic loop. Rice quality improves with reduced chemical use, while commercial shrimp yields grow steadily, transforming once impoverished rural areas into high-value food production hubs. In November, the Bering Sea comes alive with fleets of sturdy fishing vessels cutting through icy waves in pursuit of migrating schools of fat, glistening cod. Long lines stretching 30 to 50 kilometers are dropped deep into the seabed, each carrying thousands of hooks baited with fresh fish. After several hours, or sometimes half a day, the lines are hauled back up through mist and frost, heavy with gleaming, freshly caught cod. Developed in the early 20th century, this fishing method remains common in Norway, Alaska, and Russia. It stands out for its selectivity, maintaining excellent fish quality while minimizing bycatch and environmental impact. However, its low efficiency and the sea's brutal conditions make longline fishing unsuitable for large-scale industrial operations. That's why bottom trawling has become the main weapon of modern fishing fleets. Massive trawl nets sweep across the cold seabed, capturing tens of tons of cod in each haul from the frozen depths. Once the nets are filled with their silvery bounty, gone are the days of back-breaking manual hauling. Today, hydraulic winches, heavy-duty pulleys, and automated net drum systems act as the fishermen's iron allies, lifting tons of fish from the sea with precision, saving time and labor, and greatly improving both productivity and safety at sea. Harvesting sea urchins by hand diving may sound simple, but in reality, it's a job that demands strength, skill, and absolute precision. Divers equipped with masks, snorkels, anti-spike gloves, and a curved iron hook, their only tool between them and the spiny creatures clinging to the seabed, 5 to 10 meters below, must work with utmost care. A single wrong move can crack the shell, ruin the roe, or cause the diver to be painfully pricked by the sharp spines. Each urchin is gently pried loose, placed into a mesh bag tied to the diver's waist, and brought up to the boat in small batches. A skilled diver can harvest anywhere from 100 to 300 sea urchins a day, depending on the region and population density. These divers are more than just fishermen. They're underwater ecologists, selecting only mature urchins while avoiding the young ones to preserve the natural balance of marine life. Another highly effective method is bottom net harvesting, a technique quite different from traditional fishing nets. Instead of maximizing speed or net spread, bottom nets for sea urchins are designed with smaller mesh, flexible frames, and excellent seabed contact, helping to maintain the urchin's shape during collection. The nets are either fixed in place or slowly towed behind a vessel. As they pass over the seabed, sea urchins are gently swept inside by the movement of water and the light pulling force of the boat. This method allows for large-scale harvesting in a short amount of time, making it suitable for industrial operations. However, it also comes with drawbacks: higher damage rates, as the urchins can be bruised, crushed, or mixed with seaweed and debris, directly affecting the quality of their precious roe inside. Next stop, the flooded rice fields of Louisiana, where crawfish, small yet incredibly profitable creatures, are harvested in a way that's uniquely American. With practiced precision, the harvester lifts the trap, gives it a quick shake to let the crawfish tumble into a ventilated stainless steel bin, then swiftly rebaits and drops it back into the exact same spot, creating a seamless, continuous harvesting cycle. Every motion demands speed and accuracy, as even the slightest mistake could affect the day's entire catch. In the sweltering heat and thick mats of floating weeds, these workers handle between 500 and 1,000 traps a day. Thanks to their relentless effort, Louisiana produces over 50,000 tons of crawfish each year, accounting for more than 90% of the entire U.S. supply and generating hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. Here, on these waterlogged fields, Americans have turned a humble, mud-dwelling creature into the red gold of their domestic seafood industry. Have you ever seen a flying fish? If that question sparks your curiosity, head to the southern seas of Japan and Taiwan between May and July, where millions of flying fish, with wing-like fins shimmering like blades of blue steel, leap from the water and glide through the air, turning the impossible into reality. But how exactly are these fish that fly harvested? Today, with the help of radar and sonar navigation systems, locating schools of flying fish has become more precise than ever. Fishermen deploy specialized purse seine nets, lightweight, evenly buoyed, and with mesh just small enough to hold the fish without tearing their delicate fins or scales. Once released, the net unfurls into a massive arc, a soft trap stretching across the open sea, ready to close when the school swims inside. As the soft trap begins to tighten, the calm surface of the sea suddenly erupts with life. Beneath the clear blue water, thousands of flying fish shimmer and thrash, their silver bodies flashing in the sunlight. They don't take flight this time. They twist and struggle in silence, creating a scene both fierce and breathtakingly beautiful. On deck, the roar of hydraulic winches fills the air as the crew works in perfect rhythm, hauling in meters of heavy, silver-laden net. When the bulging net finally rises above the waves, tons of flying fish spill onto the deck, glinting like liquid silver under the sun. In a single haul, 3 tons of fish, the hard-earned reward of a day spent conquering the ocean. This long-line system, stretching for tens of kilometers, is on a mission to conquer the silver assassins of the sea, the mighty swordfish of the Pacific and North Atlantic Oceans, famed for their lightning speed, explosive power, and relentless fighting spirit. Thousands of baited hooks are suspended along the water's surface, precisely balanced between floats and weights, forming an immense hunting network, cast exactly where these gleaming predators prowl the deep blue. Once the setup is complete, the line is left to drift overnight in the open sea. Each strike from a swordfish sends the lines snapping tight and the buoys jerking violently, the signal for the crew to spring into action. Hydraulic winches roar to life, reeling in meters of line with the screech of steel on steel. The hooked swordfish thrashes wildly, leaping from the water, sometimes charging straight toward the boat. Every powerful lash of its blade-like bill poses real danger, demanding endurance, skill, and perfect coordination from the crew to bring it under control. In places like Hawaii, Florida, and the Caribbean, the pursuit of giant swordfish has even evolved into a prestigious ocean sport, drawing thousands of professional anglers from around the world, where the clash between human and silver warrior becomes a test of mastery, courage, and the spirit of the sea itself. Massive purse-seine nets with radii stretching for kilometers are set up in the Barents Sea every October to intercept migrating schools of capelin, numbering in the hundreds of millions. Designed to capture schooling migratory fish such as capelin, herring, and sardines, purse-seine nets have never disappointed Arctic fishermen thanks to their precision and near-perfect efficiency. Within minutes, the entire school is enclosed in the net and gradually hauled toward the ship's side by a hydraulic winch system. The highlight of modern fishing technology is the high-pressure vacuum pump, the heart of the vessel. Without having to lift the net onto the deck, the fish are sucked directly from the net through steel pipes, rushing like a silver waterfall into refrigerated holds. Dozens of tons of fresh capelin are pumped aboard at a rate of over 100 tons per hour, streaming through the pipes like a silver flood straight into the deep freeze compartments. By applying advanced automated fishing equipment, Norwegian fishermen harvest over 300,000 tons of capelin annually, which are processed into roe, oil, and fish meal, valuable food and raw materials of the North Atlantic. Catfish, an omnivorous species that thrives in mud and organic waste, has become a money-printing machine for the global aquaculture industry. In the United States, especially in the Mississippi Delta, where catfish farming generates more than $4 billion annually, the harvesting process begins with the deployment of ultra-durable nylon seine nets with mesh sizes of 3 to 4 centimeters. The nets are gradually closed into smaller circles to herd the fish toward a central gathering area. On the water surface, motorboats and divers work in sync to create gentle currents that drive the fish into the net pocket, the final concentration point where tons of catfish thrash violently, making the water churn like shattered bronze. Once the fish are concentrated, industrial cranes lower giant mesh baskets to scoop up each load weighing hundreds of kilograms. Water drains quickly through the mesh, reducing lifting weight and minimizing suffocation. The catfish, firm-bodied, with silvery gray skin and bright white bellies, the hallmarks of Grade 1 quality, are then ready for transport to the processing plant. Immediately afterward, the fish are placed into oxygenated tanker trucks with recirculating pumps, maintaining a density of 150 to 200 kilograms per cubic meter. The entire process, from net deployment to the tanker leaving the pond, takes less than 2 hours, ensuring the fish remain healthy, firm-fleshed, and retain their full commercial value before entering the processing stage. If there's a creature that could live long enough to witness your birth, your growth, your wedding, and even your departure from this world, it's the turtle. Not only is it a symbol of longevity, the turtle is also a surprising case of industrial evolution. Today, over 88% of the world's commercial turtle supply comes from China, where turtles are farmed like chickens, tracked with RFID chips, and exported by the millions each year. Meanwhile, the United States has become a living museum, home to over 50 rare turtle species thriving in its diverse ecosystems. People often say turtles are slow, but that's not always true. Take the Florida softshell turtle, for example. It can glide underwater at speeds of up to 10 kilometers per hour. And when winter comes, some turtles survive by breathing through their butts. It sounds bizarre, but it's real. They absorb oxygen through a cloacal membrane while resting beneath layers of ice for months, without even using their lungs. Not every turtle gets chosen to become a future parent for the next generation. On commercial farms, only the healthiest individuals are selected, typically weighing between 2.5 to 4 kilograms, with smooth, thick shells free from scratches or deformities. Another key factor is reproductive history, often tracked through detailed records from breeding farms. Female turtles that have laid multiple clutches with high hatch rates are given priority in the selection process. But breeding is a game of risk. Overusing the same elite genetic lines for too many generations can increase the risk of inbreeding, leading to weaker offspring that are more vulnerable to environmental stress and disease. Once selected, softshell turtles enter a special preparation phase. They are transferred to semi-natural ponds with water depths of 30 to 40 centimeters and constant flow to mimic natural living conditions. Here, the future mothers are nourished with high-protein diets, minced fresh fish, apple snails, chicken liver, combined with regular supplements of calcium and minerals. It's all aimed at one goal: helping them develop healthy, strong-shelled eggs with high hatch success rates. Unlike geese or ducks, where hatchlings are cared for, led by their mother to forage just moments after hatching, a mother turtle never gets to meet her young. But before she leaves, she fulfills her final instinct with precision, using her 2 hind legs to dig a deep nest where she lays 25 to 40 ivory-colored eggs, each coated in a layer of mucus, a kind of biological armor that protects the embryo during its most fragile stage. Then, with slow and deliberate movements, she pushes sand back over the hole. This sand blanket helps retain warmth and moisture while concealing the nest from predators, birds, rodents, snakes, and other reptiles. A quiet act, but precise, one that gives the next generation a better chance to begin life. As soon as the mother turtle leaves, farm staff quickly begin collecting the eggs from newly laid nests. The scene resembles a treasure excavation. Sand is carefully brushed away, revealing clusters of precious eggs resting quietly beneath. Depending on the size of the farm and the number of turtles nesting, a single harvest can yield anywhere from a few hundred to several thousand eggs. All are collected, cleaned of any remaining sand, and then transferred immediately to the incubation area. The incubation process marks the first step in the softshell turtle's journey of rebirth, where each egg is carefully collected and placed into specialized plastic baskets. Between each layer of eggs, fine sand is added, pre-treated with disinfectants to prevent mold, parasites, and bacteria. The baskets are then transferred into incubation chambers, where the temperature is carefully maintained between 29 to 32 degrees Celsius. Turtle's sex isn't defined by genetics, but by temperature. Just a 1 to 2 degrees Celsius shift can cause an entire batch to hatch as all males or all females. While we wait for the farm-raised turtle eggs to hatch, join me as we head out to the open sea to witness the raw and challenging nesting journey of wild sea turtles. While softshell turtles are carefully raised in farms with stable environments, clean water, and tailored nutrition, sea turtles out in the vast ocean face a wild and unforgiving journey for survival. No radar, no compass. Yet for millions of years, sea turtles have silently navigated thousands of kilometers across vast oceans. Depending on the species, their diets range from seagrass, jellyfish, and algae to small fish and crustaceans. Some, like the green sea turtle, can live up to 70-80 years, grow as long as 1.5 meters, and weigh over 200 kilograms. With their massive bodies and long-distance migration abilities, they have become enduring symbols of resilience and freedom. But not every turtle survives long enough to reach adulthood. Many are caught before they ever get the chance to reproduce. Others become entangled in fishing nets, lines, or drifting plastic bags. These invisible threats, most of them caused by humans, are quietly shortening the lifespans of one of Earth's most ancient species. A behavior few people notice during sea turtle mating season. From March to September, depending on species and region, a pair of turtles mating peacefully underwater can suddenly become the center of intense competition. Lone males often arrive, pushing, biting, and wrapping around the female in a bid to claim the chance to reproduce. Gentle creatures? Not always. In the natural world, even love is a fierce contest. After several weeks, the female turtle returns to the very stretch of beach where she was once born, beginning her quiet, solitary journey ashore to lay her eggs. Usually at night or during high tide, the mother turtle, weighing hundreds of kilograms, drags herself across the dry sand, using only her flippers, each slow, laborious step guided not by food or water, but by pure instinct. After laying her eggs, the mother turtle quietly returns to the sea, leaving the sandy nest behind, and with it, the offspring she will never meet. From the very moment they hatch, sea turtles face a fate entirely different from their farm-raised counterparts. There's no helping hand, no safe tank, only instinct. Hatchlings must struggle out of their sandy nests and follow the faint glimmer of moonlight reflecting off the waves to reach the sea. It's a short journey, but one filled with danger. With slow movements and fragile bodies, even a slight misstep can make them easy prey for seabirds, lizards, or even stray dogs. In the wild, nesting beaches often become hunting grounds, and the most vulnerable are the first to fall. Sea turtles spend nearly their entire lives in the ocean, coming ashore only to lay eggs. But the odds of surviving to adulthood are shockingly low. Only about 1 in 1,000 hatchlings will ever make it back to the sea. Now, let's return to the farm, where turtles are raised under strict protocols and controls, becoming a vital link in the entire value chain. Remember those turtle eggs we've been waiting for? Now, let's take a look at what's happening inside the incubation room. After about 30 to 40 days, the hatchlings begin to break free from their fragile shells, not one by one, but together. Using subtle vibrations and barely perceptible sounds from inside their eggs, they coordinate their timing, instinctively syncing their emergence in a silent collective signal. It's not chance, it's survival by design. Hatching as a group means more movement, more confusion for predators, and a better shot at life. After hatching, the baby turtles are carefully collected by staff. Those that are healthy, well-developed, and free from deformities are selected for commercial farming or reserved as future breeding stock. Once sorted, the selected juveniles are transferred to specialized rearing tanks, designed to mimic natural conditions with soft bottoms, clean circulating water, and areas with both light and shade. Each tank is closely monitored for temperature, pH levels, and dissolved oxygen to ensure optimal living conditions. After around 4 to 5 years of rearing, an adult turtle can consume between 300 to 500 grams of food per day, depending on the weather and its body size. With proper care, it can reach a weight of 3.5 to 6 kilograms, the ideal range for harvest readiness. When harvest season arrives, the once still surface of the pond comes alive. Work begins at first light while the sun is still hidden behind the trees and the water remains quiet and cool. Workers step into the ponds where turtles rest buried beneath thick layers of mud. To avoid shocking the animals or disturbing the water's ecosystem, every movement is slow and deliberate. They use probing sticks to detect subtle motions, watching for ripples, rising bubbles, or faint trails, each a clue. Once located, turtles are gently lifted using gloved hands or long-handled nets. Larger individuals often rest deeper, requiring workers to patiently dig through fine mud with movements that are both precise and firm. Each turtle is rinsed to remove excess mud, then placed in mesh holding cages submerged in the water. In many areas, harvesting requires official permits, and surprise inspections are common. Violations can result in the entire stock being confiscated, abruptly ending a rearing cycle that took 4 to 5 years to complete. After being brought ashore, the softshell turtles are moved to a preliminary cleaning area, where all mud and debris clinging to their bodies are thoroughly removed. The entire cleaning process is carried out quickly and continuously to avoid stressing the turtles, which could lead to dehydration, reduced muscle firmness, and ultimately, lower commercial value. Depending on size, each container typically holds 4 to 6 individuals. These containers are then transported directly to wholesale markets or major collection points, where buyers are ready to inspect, weigh, and appraise each turtle. With an average weight of 3.5 to 6 kilograms, adult turtles can sell for $60 to $90 each. Healthy turtles with strong reflexes and no visible scratches are always priced higher. Few would imagine that from a slow-moving ancient creature like the turtle, entire culinary traditions have emerged. rich in heritage yet steeped in controversy. From tender slices of turtle meat stir-fried with ginger, to herbal soups and soft, rich turtle eggs, these dishes are considered rare delicacies in parts of Asia, often tied to beliefs in vitality, longevity, and traditional healing. In some cultures, eating turtle is more than just nourishment. It's a symbol of strength, endurance, and status. But alongside curiosity about taste comes growing concern over health risks and ethical boundaries. With their long lifespans and complex habitats, turtles, especially those in the wild, are prone to accumulating heavy metals and biological toxins. Without strict regulation, these can pose serious risks to consumers. Meanwhile, increasing demand continues to push some turtle species closer to extinction. Cuisine reflects culture, but sometimes it also tests the conscience of an era. With this dish, would you choose indulgence or reflection? And if it came down to a choice, would you stand with flavor or with life?